right, so we are in the LinkedIn Power Hour, and I am excited to talk to you guys about LinkedIn because hear me out. So, LinkedIn, probably you're thinking, I don't want to do another social channel. I don't have time. Instagram, Facebook, and now you want me to do LinkedIn too? Okay. But even if you aren't going to do LinkedIn, try this. I want you to Google your name and in a private, like incognito window. It might be called private window, it might be called incognito window, but open up a new window. Google your name. So if you Google your name, you are most likely to find LinkedIn coming up at the very top because LinkedIn is a high ranking website. So what you will find there is that old profile that you maybe added in 2000 or 2010, whenever your professor made you add it, it wouldn't have been 2000 because LinkedIn is 18 years old. But maybe 2010, your professor had you add a LinkedIn profile and you left it and you haven't looked at it since, and it's got this old photo or maybe no photo. That is the first thing coming up, most likely under your name. So even if you don't use LinkedIn, if you are a professional, you should have an updated profile with an updated photo on there. And I'm going to tell you lots more reasons why moving even beyond the profile is totally worthwhile for you. And by the end of the hour, I have a feeling a lot of you guys are going to want to be on LinkedIn. All right, so let's chat on this. Okay, so LinkedIn has 740 million members, but only 40% go on there daily. Okay. So what that means is that so many people just put up a profile and then they're on it, but they're not necessarily going on it regularly the way that people are going on pretty consistently if they're an Instagram user. Or Facebook, has its ups and downs depending on where you are in your life and what age, whatever. But people are definitely just not going on there as much. So this is actually a good thing because the people that are on there, it's not as crowded a space. So of the people on there, only 3 million are sharing content weekly. So what does that mean? That means that if you are sharing or you start to share content on LinkedIn, you are way ahead of the game. Your content is more likely to be seen. And 44% of users on LinkedIn earn over $75,000, which means they're more likely to be able to afford your services. All right. Okay. So, and what you can see from this chart is that the conversions on LinkedIn are higher than Facebook and Twitter. No surprise there. People are on there to do business. And so they are making more conversions on LinkedIn. Now, just fun story about sharing content and how it stays on there for a longer time. So I post there daily on business days. I don't post on any of my social channels on weekends too much because I promote healthy social media use, even though I am a social media manager for clients and for myself. But 5 days a week, I post consistent content on LinkedIn. So one time I was on a call with a client and he started out the conversation by saying, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm totally okay." And he said, "You know that we're here for you if you ever need us." I'm like, what is he talking about? I just said, thanks. I actually don't know this client super well. So I said, "Thank you so much. That I appreciate that." And then we went on with the conversation. And at the end, it was kind of nagging me. And I said, "Why is it that you said that at the beginning of the conversation?" And he said, "Well, I saw your LinkedIn post." As I'm talking to him, I quickly go to my LinkedIn. I had no idea what he was talking about. And like a week earlier, I had posted a photo of me with like a more of a serious face. And I talked about how if people say something online that is unkind, it's probably because they're having a bad day. It's more likely about them than you. Someone had said something like nasty. It happens to all of us if we create a lot of content. You haven't really made it if you haven't gotten some haters, right? So it wasn't something that was like super troubling, but it had bothered me. And at the time, I wrote this piece of advice that I had told myself and was trying to internalize, that it's not about me, it's probably about them. And so he was saying, "Are you okay?" Well, yes, I was okay. But the point is that he was still seeing in his feed just before we got on a post that I had put up a week ago. That is LinkedIn, my friends. If you post something now on like Twitter, it is gone by the end of the next slide. If you post it on Instagram, hardly anyone's going to see it by the end of the day. And if you post something on Facebook, I don't even know if anyone sees it if you don't put some money behind it. Okay, so that is LinkedIn. It's part of what I love about it. All right, if you need more reasons to bother with LinkedIn, 60% of LinkedIn users are 25 to 34 years old. So if that is your age of your target audience and they're professionals, they are on there. And in addition to that, LinkedIn saw a 55% increase in conversations among connections in 2020. Now, does that surprise you? No, because we were all online much more, including on LinkedIn. Content creation on LinkedIn increased 60% in 2020. So more and more people are on there, but I'm telling you, it is still a wide open space for you to join the conversation. And like I said at the beginning, LinkedIn ranks for you. So this is my incognito window. I have a lot of content online. So I have my own business website. I post SEO optimized blogs and podcasts all the time, but I'm a Chicago marketing business and I'm newer. I started in 2019 after quitting my day job to pursue my freelance full time. So my site is only from 2019. So even though I have all that content on my own personal site, I also have a food blog. Fun fact, that's not even ranking. My personal site is showing up because I'm on Google Maps. So it is coming up in that right bar. But at the very top, what do you see? My LinkedIn. It is ranking higher than Instagram. Okay, and interestingly enough, the Ideal Mensch, where I was featured, is ranking higher than Instagram even. So I find that super interesting, and all of that is above Facebook. So the very top is LinkedIn, and that is me. And I was a writer and an editor for 5 years, so I have lots of articles. I have articles in other publications. LinkedIn is at the top. All right. So let's just say that I've convinced you to update just your profile. Even though you're not necessarily going to use LinkedIn, I think it's worth updating your profile if you are a working person. Okay. So here are some tips. Let's dive into how to optimize, make a really great profile. So the first thing is you're going to want a headshot. Now, I really don't think that you have to go out and get a professional headshot in 2021. All right. We're in a pandemic, but even if we weren't, we have iPhones in our pockets that are significantly better than the most expensive cameras a few years ago. So get out your iPhone, grab your teen or borrow a teen and have them take some photos of you. You could go in front of a blank wall. You go outside in front of a brick wall, something, if that's kind of you, like that sort a little bit edgy, and go in front of a fence. Really, there are so many ways. Use the portrait mode. If you have an iPhone, I'm sure there's some sort of equivalent on Android. I know some of the Android phones have excellent cameras. So play with that a little bit. If you can't do that yourself, then, you don't want to take a selfie. So have someone do it. I recommend a teen. I happen to have 3, so maybe that's why. You can borrow mine if you're in Chicago. Okay, so add a profile image. Now, what I did with mine here is I took the background off and added this big, bold orange background to it. So I like that because I really stand out. Like in comments, it really stands out. You don't have to do that. I haven't always had that. If you're wondering how to do that, I am doing a Canva free workshop next Thursday. So you're welcome I would love to have you on that and I can show you that kind of thing in there. Okay, so I will put the link in the chat when I get off of the screen share. All right, so profile photo. On top of that is my header, and that should just be clean. I have up there kind of like my one-liner, what I help you do. And I just recommend that it's really clean and that it looks good, really small. Most people are going to see this on their phone among other people. So that's what that is. Okay. Now, your headline, just to go back, that is where it says under my name, healthcare content creator, building a culture of connecting through marketing. So your headline should tell potential prospects exactly what you do. If you want to have two things, you can have a line like I did in the middle. So that symbol of a straight up line separating two things. The first thing should say what you do. So you could just say therapist at XYZ therapy or OT at whatever. You could say owner of XYZ therapy. So whatever you do, you could get a little more clear if you help a very specific audience in a specific way. So like trauma therapy for young adults. That could be the beginning of your headline. Speech therapist for articulation and accent modification goals. Okay, that's someone who did my group course. My friend Kara. I know that you are watching this later, so that would be like the kind of thing that you could put in your headline. This photo here are some suggestions from my friend John Esperian. You can see the URL on the bottom, John Esperian, how to spell his name. It's John and then Esperian. Definitely, if you're on LinkedIn, I recommend following him. He calls himself like the LinkedIn nerd or something. He gives so many great tips. I am not a LinkedIn expert. I am I use it a ton and I teach people how to use it, but this is not like my one thing. I do social media content creation in general. So I am not about to call myself an expert like John. So I did ask a lot of people on LinkedIn before I did this, what they recommend as that I tell you guys. So I'm going to include a few more at the end, but one thing that I heard from John is that only that very first line is what people are going to see. And so you don't want this long statement like he writes in the beginning. And because they'll end up saying the ellipses and not get the point of what you do. So just very clear, a website content writer would be an example that he offers. And then he says, if you have room, you should add a little bravery badge, which just is a fun thing that you could add. So I have one connection on there who she promotes wine. She does like wine marketing. So she has something like everything's better with wine or something like that. So what that does is it's a conversation starter, and LinkedIn, even though it is a business networking space, it is for connecting and socializing. It's like the fun, laid back cocktail party after you've gotten to know everybody at like a conference for the weekend, like that kind of space. So you still want to be professional, but it's like the more social space where you might be like, oh yeah, so I live here and I love to run and I also cook and this is what I do. You know what I'm saying? So you're always going back to what you do on LinkedIn, and we'll talk a little more about the content and the energy of the kinds of things you can post. But that is why he says add a little bravery badge, because that is a fun way to start a conversation in the messages with a new connection. All right, now I just want to, I'm actually going to exit out of this screen share just for 1 second. So I can go to my LinkedIn and show you guys. Okay. All right. I'm just going to, I want to close the chat. So put in the questions. If you have any questions, put it in the chat or put it in the Q&A. And I'm also putting a few links over here in the chat for you to see. The first is connect with me on LinkedIn. The second is my Everyday Marketing for Healthcare Providers Facebook group. If you're not in there, I actually go live on Facebook every Thursday. So I would love for you to join me there. And the last is the link to sign up for the Canva workshop that I am doing next week. Okay, so I'm going to screen share this one more time, and I'm going to show you guys my LinkedIn just so you could see the kinds of things that I'm talking about, just to walk you through so you can see it from here. So when I go on, this is what I see. This is my home page, like my feed, like you're used to seeing on any social media. That is it. This is where you write a post, obviously. Anytime what I'm talking about, changing your profile, that is up here. So view profile, and here we go. So that is my photo. This is the header image we just talked about. This is the headline we just talked about. You can adjust things by clicking on this pencil, obviously, and I'm going to show you guys how to fill out all of these other things. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the presentation And again, just let me know if I'm going too fast, if you have questions in the chat. Okay, so one of the things that makes your LinkedIn rank higher, even if you don't do this, it's still going to rank pretty high. But one of the things that will make this profile also rank for your name is to create a custom URL for your LinkedIn. I'm just going to show you this. If you are in my Facebook group, then I will make sure to post this video. So you're going to go to your profile, click on the right, it says edit the public profile. And on the right, there is a place to edit your custom URL. So you guys see where my mouse is there. So I made that Wendy Margolin. So that is a hot tip that I highly recommend, even if you don't plan to really use LinkedIn too much. Okay, next, I want you to add your featured content. This is kind of like your portfolio. So back when I first went out on jobs, I had this like leather folder and I had, my published work articles. I was a journalist, so I had my articles that I had done as like an intern and, my first job, and it was all in this like leather bound little thing that I would open up and show them and give them a copy. Okay, so excuse my dogs if you can hear them. I apologize. This is your featured content. This is like your leather portfolio that you bring. Now, for me, what you're going to put in there is like podcasts. If you do a workshop, you can change this, or you could just do it once. Publications, maybe you've been published somewhere. Maybe you wrote an article or you're included in an article somewhere. So you can upload files or you can add links and it just pulls in the image and you can change the text. Let's say you have like some sort of freebie or an asset that you provide people, like a checklist, that could be in there. So when I first got started, I didn't have all of these starter courses and all these freebies ready. So what was in here were really like articles. Like you saw when I showed you my SEO ranking, when you Google my name. So the first one was that Idea Mensch article. So that was one of the things that I had in this featured piece. So just you really come up with 2 or 3 and put them in there. You can change them. You can change the order. Okay, now I'm just going to show you how I did that. With this, you're going to, again, go to view profile, scroll down. Actually, this is an old video, so you can see what used to be there. Up there was a featured, and now I want to talk to you about the experience. Now, this is, a lot of people ask me about the company page. This is why I have a Sparker Marketing company page, even though I own the business and I have only 2 people that work for me. We're small. I still have a Sparker Marketing LinkedIn page. And that is exactly why I want to be able to link to it as my company. So that is my first line in my experience. A lot of people ask me about like having a company page versus their own personal page. So the company page on LinkedIn is a lot like Facebook, where you have a company page because you could run ads. Not that I typically recommend you run ads on LinkedIn, but you have this company page, but your personal page is going to do much better. So your personal posts are going to perform so much better than the company page, unless you are a really big company. So my medium-sized businesses, they do pretty well, and they'll have like a number of employees who share their posts and comment on their posts, and they'll have like a number of people in the network and vendors and things like that who will interact with their content, follow their content because they want their business, like things like that. Those are the company pages that tend to perform well. My company page does not tend to perform well, and I see this as well for other marketers, but I still recommend you have one because then, like you saw in that former video, you can link yourself. I do post content there. I pre-schedule it. I use Hootsuite. Hootsuite in price has gone up, but there are other ones that let you schedule content to LinkedIn business pages. But even if you're not going to post, it is nice to have it. So also you could add your university, you could add any other experience. So other job experience, I have my past jobs in there. You can choose whether you want those to show up or not. I do, why not? I've been working 2 decades. Like, why not show all the things I've been doing? And also in there, I have right under my Sparker Marketing, I have my podcast. So if you do something like that, it's not my job, obviously, it's part of my job. So I say host of Sparker Marketing Podcast. It's a way to promote what you do, the skill set you have, and maybe even get some listeners. So if you do something like that, or you're on the board of a certain organization, usually volunteer work is down at the bottom. But if it's more like a work sort of setup that you're on the board, it could maybe even be up there. So it is a place where you put your experience, but not in the exact way that you did on a job resume. It's a little bit looser. Okay, you could, I recommend at the bottom, you'll see there's a place for skills, and then people can give you endorsements in those skills. Keep those 3 to 5. It shows you're an expert at a few things and not like a generalist. So don't tick off every single thing that you can do. And you can also offer colleagues recommendations. That's kind of like your Facebook review, Google review, but on LinkedIn. So if you start to do that, you could do that consistently, you will start to get some back. All right. So now, finally, I want to talk to you about that about section. So after your photo and your headline, the most important thing is going to be that about section. Now, what most people do is they take like a little paragraph that was written on some website somewhere, it's probably old, that says like about me. And it's usually in third person, and it's usually pretty darn boring. Okay, so I actually recommend, especially if you are the owner of your business, and most likely if you're watching this, you are. So I recommend, this is more of a sales page, and this is counterintuitive, but it should focus completely on your audience. So your patients or your clients, your target audience. So you want to focus on the problem you solve, for who you and how you do it, and for who you solve that problem. Okay, so mine is a little bit different, but what I actually recommend is that at the very top, just to keep things simple, unless you want to get a little clever and creative like I did, but just to keep it simple, you can make this really easy. Start with a clear problem statement. So the problem you solve and who you help. And you want to use the second person language. So one person is reading this at a time. Even though you help lots of people and your audience is lots of people, there's only one person reading at a time. And you want the people that you help to hear you say, I help you. Okay. So use the word you, and then you're going to break up. You'll see it, how I did it here in mine. The sections, you're going to break it up into like short paragraphs or bullet points. You're going to use all caps as headers and use emojis as bullet points. At the bottom, you're going to want to put your contact information. I have my phone number and I have my email. And you're going to want to put in a call to action. So I actually have a few. Usually you want to do one, but because this is sort of like a whole sales page, I have a couple of calls to action. So I have my website and I have my Instagram. And I also encourage people to join my Everyday Marketing Facebook group. All right, so when we are connected to others, we become better people. Really, it is about connection. So I want you to build up your connections. Now, if you don't have the energy to create content on LinkedIn and all you did is clean up your profile, then bravo, you are way ahead of the game from before, when it was your old, dusty, outdated one with no photo or with an old photo. Okay, but I really want to encourage you to consider actually testing the waters on LinkedIn. Now, I told you all the reasons at the beginning. Your content will stay up longer. I have a few more reasons that I encourage you to go ahead and build your network and actually start engaging and creating content on LinkedIn. Now, first of all, you probably already have a lot of things written. If you are on Instagram, you probably have a lot written. If you have Facebook, if you have a blog, if you've written for other blogs. So you don't have to make up new things. You probably already have things that you can use. But there's a few reasons why I loved LinkedIn. The first is that the content that performs consistently well for me over time is plain text posts. No images, no video, no fancy pants, Canva, slides, whatever, no carousels, like literally just words. just words perform best for me on LinkedIn. If you Google this, you will find all the gurus tell you that videos are 5 times more engaging on LinkedIn, and posts with, I'm making that up, but posts with images perform twice as well, whatever. It'll tell you that, but I am telling you, I have heard this from other people as well. And anecdotally for me, I create all kinds of content. I have plenty of photos. I don't mind doing photos. You can see I don't mind doing videos. I don't mind going live. I'll do all the things, but I'm telling you, the plain text posts always perform better for me. And I experiment all the time. If I have a good video, I just want to share it anyway. I'll share it. But I know when I share it, it's not going to do as well as a plain text post. So if you don't love Instagram because it's so much work and you've got to make it beautiful and spend so much time doing these clever Canva tricks, then LinkedIn might be the space for you. Now, is your audience there? Well, yes, they probably have a profile there, but are they actually going to see your content? It depends. If your audience is millennials, so that 25 to I don't know 34 or something, I'd say like if your audience is like young 20s to 60s, yes. If they're working professionals, your audience is on LinkedIn. Now, if your clients are kids, still their moms and dads are on LinkedIn if they are working professionals. And the other thing, if you're really not sure if you're going to reach your audience there, is that you're going to reach colleagues there. So you might find a lot of people you could collaborate with. You can do a summit, a workshop, a blog, be on their podcast. There is a lot of room for collaboration. There's a lot of ideation. Is that a word? I've seen people use that word. I'm not even sure if it's an actual word. I'll have to check when I get off. But there's a lot of idea generation happening on LinkedIn. It is a fun place to be. In addition to that, people really do get post comments. I can post the exact same content on Instagram as LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn I'll get a ton of comments, and on Instagram I won't, because Instagram is much more people browsing. They just want to look. They want to like veg and look. And LinkedIn is like people stalling at work. And they can still look like they're working. So they do engage. And also it is proven over and over that commenting on other people's content really helps you grow your network, build your business. So you'll want to do that to others. We're going to talk about that, but people will comment on your content. So I recommend building up a network there and trying it out. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to want to go on the little people icon, and it will give you a bunch of prompts. So it'll just show people that it recommends you connect with. Connect with everybody. I mean, people are super friendly. If they don't connect back, it's more likely because they're not like heavy users of LinkedIn than that they don't want to connect with you. It's not a place like Facebook friending where you really need to be friends. It's a place where if you have something in common, people are, or maybe it's even just you're in the same industry, people will connect back. So I always like to add a personal note when I can. I'll talk to you a little bit more about how to do that. And also LinkedIn will give you a bunch of prompts like this screenshot below about how to add the people on your phone, your contacts, so that they will show up in LinkedIn and you can connect with all of them. So build up your network. And then here, this is a video on how to do it. So here's your home screen. Oh, this is how you can go to, let's say you are, here, let me pause this. Oh, hang on. This actually just like took me back a slide. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's say you are a therapist in Boulder and you want to connect with people in your area. So this video is going to show you how you can go to the search bar and search Boulder, Colorado. I'm a big fan of Colorado. It's where I wish I lived. And click on people. And now it says connection. So first degree are people I'm already connected with. Second degree are people who we have a mutual connection. So mutual friend. I actually went ahead and did this. I don't know, Mara, but I did it for the sake of this video. I clicked connect and I added a note. And all I said, I don't really know Mara, but I did add a note to say, hey, Mara, connecting because of our mutual friend, Drew. I don't even know Drew, but Drew is one of my first connections. So I did this for the sake of the video. Usually I know the person if I'm going to name drop, but that's how you could do that. And just go on down. If you don't want to add the notes, if you're in a hurry, press connect. But I can tell you that it's more likely to work for you if you add a little note. And here I just included a more authentic note because this is someone I did know. And I'm just showing you this so you can see that LinkedIn is a fun and friendly place. So I saw that Ruben is from Aurora, Colorado. I already told you I'm really wish I lived in Denver. And so I wrote, thanks for offering LinkedIn advice. Happy to connect as long as you don't post too many mountain photos and make me jealous. Okay, so Ruben was someone who commented when I posted the other day about asking for advice from everyone on LinkedIn about what advice do you have for people who are just getting started. So he gave some good advice. I saw when he gave the advice, I can see his name in his headline, content coordinator. And then it said that he was a second degree connection. So when second degree connections connect with me, I connect with them. So that's how I've built up my LinkedIn, and that is how you can build up yours. So I regularly check when people who I like, people that I know personally, and I connect with potential clients. Like I searched Boulder, Colorado, and then people. You could also search for me. I work with people all over the world. So mostly in the US and Canada, but I do have some global clients. And so I'll search maybe private practice. And then I can search for the people in private practice that says owner. Okay, so you can actually search not just location-based, but industry-based. This actually works really well if you are looking for a job. So this workshop is really intended for people who own your business, but let's say you're looking for a job, you can do the same thing. Let's say you really want to work at a specific place, or I've actually done this. So there is, let's say there's a company like Bayada, I don't know how they say it, but Bayada is like they create a ton of cool content. They do home health for kids and people of all ages, and they do great content marketing. So let's say I really wanted to work at Bayada. I can search for Bayada. I can see exactly who works there in marketing, and I can connect with their whole marketing team. Okay, so those are the kinds of things you can do, and right away you can comment on their content. You can like their content. A lot of times, the people that you're really trying to target, if they're not like in marketing, they aren't posting a lot of content, or if they're not business owners, entrepreneurs. So you might not be able to use that trick of like getting noticed by them by commenting on them, but you could send them a direct message, and most likely they have their LinkedIn set up so that they get an email notification. I'm actually going to skip this slide. It's great for conferences, how you can network with a QR code, but no one's going to conferences as I'm recording this in the pandemic, but you can do that on your phone. You can search for people who are nearby if they have that turned on in their LinkedIn. All right, so how to actually use LinkedIn. I hope you guys are still with me here. Definitely put in the chat if you have questions. I'll go over it at the end. Okay, so build your online credibility. And then once you're all done, you've set up your profile, you've connected with some people, start creating content. Now, that is like the hardest part is to get started. It's true on Instagram. It's true on anything. I don't care what you're trying to start. It's hard. Trying to start exercising is hard, but you do this consistently. I'd say like for me, it's really, I've found with building habits, and I know others have said this, but I'm not an expert in this space, but I found for me that about a month of something then it's pretty easy for me to consistently do it after that. So getting started is the hardest part, but I highly recommend you do it. I got this idea from my LinkedIn friend, Leslie Popham, when I asked for advice from people. And she said, a first post, put, hello, everybody. My name is Anne, Jonathan, Leslie, Wendy, whatever. I'm completely new to LinkedIn, but I'm looking forward to getting to know you all. Period. click post. That is it. I am telling you that people will comment, they will welcome you, they will check out your profile, and then you can connect with them. And that like, phew, you've done it. You've done your first post. So I challenge you when we get off to write this first post. Put up there, hello, I'm new to LinkedIn. First, clean up your profile, but then post this, tag me. And by doing the at Wendy Margol, at symbol Wendy Margol, and I will for sure comment, cheer you on. And that can be a first post. So getting started is definitely the hardest part. I'm going to give you a few more ideas for how to generate content ideas, but in addition to posting something, so commenting on articles that you think are interesting and sharing them and sharing your company posts, those are just like super easy. I can tell you that those do not perform super well, but what does perform well is that you can take a blog or a article or a podcast and summarize it in LinkedIn. Say, 3 great points from the blog from Wendy Margolin's blog. Let's just pretend I'm that famous. I do have a blog, but excuse me. Let's just say that you were using my blog. You gave 3 points because it related to your industry and maybe added a little something that you loved about it or gained from it. That will perform much better than you just sharing a link. So that's a way to do that and not have to like think of your own idea. So that does really well. LinkedIn also has polls. I posted a poll recently and it performed extremely well. So you can play with that. But again, really just those plain posts. You can take content from your blogs, content from your website, content from articles you've written, paper, research, content from your other social media posts in other spaces. Scroll on back and you can repeat it in different ways. People are not paying as much attention to you as you think. So you have to say things many times, and it's actually a really good thing to repeat yourself a lot. You should sound like a broken record, feel like a broken record, and maybe when you say it 20 times, people listen. All right, you want to focus on being exceedingly helpful. So literally give away some tricks of the trade, and then you'll start to become top of mind when they're ready to work with you. If you ask me who's the expert on branding, I will tell you my friend Michelle Griffin. She is in my feed all the time with great content on branding. There are plenty of other people on branding who are bigger experts, have been around longer, but she's in my feed. She engages with my content. I've engaged with hers, and I will send people to Michelle. I'm not going to send them to the branding guru who just like let out had her book go on New York Times bestseller list. Like, okay, maybe go listen to her podcast. She's great. But if you want to hire someone for branding, here's my friend Michelle, who I've never met, by the way, but we did a clubhouse together and we've done lots of other things. So you will start to make like a LinkedIn friends who you're collaborating with if you spend some time here. So if you give away the tricks of your trade, like the kinds of things that you would tell your ideal client, your favorite person who lights you up, who makes you feel like you're doing what you were meant to do on this earth, that person, if you give that kind of advice on LinkedIn, and this is the same is true on social media anywhere, on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, then you're going to start to become known for that. And people will still work with you. Do not worry about giving away free secrets. You can see I give away so much, but people still need you to hold their hand and give them the step-by-step process to actually get them to the next level. So I'm giving you everything you need to know in order to update your LinkedIn. But obviously there are people who are going to be like, oh, I should just hire her. So not that I'm telling you that, but my point is, but you could. But my point is that you can give away free content and it just builds your authority. You help more people. Just be generous, focus on the giving. Do not do it to always be encouraging people that hire me, then you look desperate. But you want to become known. So repeat yourself and be exceedingly helpful. Now, here are some just do's and don'ts. All the different channel platforms have their little ticks that you start to get to know as you're on them. So like on Instagram, you all know you put a hashtag link in bio because you don't want to post a hashtag. You don't want to post a link in your post because it won't be something anyone can click on. It won't be a live link. So there are little tricks of the trade on LinkedIn. And I think one of the most important ones to know is that if you want to use a link in your, like you want to link to an article or something, like let's say you summarized an article, like I mentioned before, and you tag the person, put the link in the first comment. Now, LinkedIn, if you Google this, will tell you that it's been updated. I have seen people that this is no longer an issue, but basically the social media channels want to keep you on their platform for as long as possible to get as many eyeballs on their ads as possible so they can make the most money as possible. That is really why we are there, right? It's free to use, but they are selling your eyes and your time. So they don't want to take you off of their platform. So the algorithm, I have seen in my own experience that if I post a link, my post performs significantly more poorly than if I put the link in the first comment. So I will just write at the bottom, link in the first comment. So that's how I handle that. You could, if you're like worried people aren't going to see your link and you start to get a lot of conversation going, you could go back and edit the post and add the link in there. Like maybe it's your podcast or something. So you really want people to see that link. So try it. You can try it both ways, but I can tell you from my experience, plain text posts perform the best, and having a link in the first comment is really important. Having some follow-up comments. So if people start to comment, then going in and just like following up with them. So I can tell you for myself, I try to go on here 3 times a day. I'm in content marketing, so I spend more time on this. I don't expect you as a therapist, OT, PT, anything, SLP, physician, whatever, especially you don't have a desk job. So I don't expect you to go on there 3 times a day. But if you could go on there, on the days that you post, maybe you go on there once to do the posting and then just check back 5 minutes, answer your comments. And a way to just kind of avoid the doom scrolling, it's just go in there with intention, like, okay, I'm just commenting on people who commented with mine, and just so go straight to the notifications, do the comments, get out of there. I have screen time passcodes, like time limits on my social media apps. So that's how I control that kind of thing. I also will go on social media like right before a meeting or something. So I only have like 15 minutes till a meeting. There's no way that I'm going to get sucked into social media because I will go on, when I have a limited time to be there. And again, as we talked about before, you want to add value without having like expectations of getting it back. And that is actually the best way to get it back. So it's a little funny, but it's true. And finally, you're gonna, you want to have okay. So this was the summary. Sorry about that. This is the summary of some of the most important things that we talked about, which would be getting the most value by connecting with people there. Have a message that you use every time. Like after people comment and you connect with them, you could just kind of have a message. I keep it like I use a Monday.com, like a organizer. So Asana, Trello, whatever you use, ClickUp, something like that. If you don't use one of those, you could try, just have like it in a Google Doc somewhere, but like something you could copy and paste that's like that you're adding as a note when you make connections, like I showed you. You also could have like a note that you send people sometimes, like maybe like, for example, I have a Canva workshop that I let you know about and that I put in the chat. So I could message people who I think might be interested in that on LinkedIn and just kind of like copy and paste this similar thing and add your own little personality. But have supportive ways that you help them in your message a few days later. Like if they comment on something that relates to a blog you have or a podcast or whatever, that would be like a way to level up the messaging. If you're just getting started, it's a lot of work. It takes some time. So it's up to you how much time you want to invest in this. But the important thing to make this easy is to plan content ahead of time. Now, this is true for any social media. So if you've listened to me, listen to my podcast, been on my lives or in my course, whatever, this, batch your content. I highly recommend brainstorming ideas, like a total brain dump session. I'm sorry. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. The guy's first name was James. It wasn't James Clear. I'm sorry. I can't think of who it was. I should know it if I'm gonna quote him, but he's a blogger and he actually said that he comes up with 10 ideas every single morning. He just jots down 10 ideas. And I love that. Like I do brain dumps kind of just, I'll have ideas and then I'll just like try and think of a bunch. But if you don't have ideas, the way to get ideas is to start working on getting ideas. Like it's like these things that like dandelion seeds that just kind of float through the air. And if you're not looking for them or trying to snatch them, you won't, they'll pass you by. So I highly recommend like intentionally sitting down to come up with ideas. And this will be hard at first, but it gets so much easier. Post that first content and kind of like scroll through LinkedIn. You'll see what other people will posting and that will start to generate ideas. And of course, use your content from your other posts and things you've already written and just recycle that for LinkedIn. So if you have like 15 minutes, let's say you're committed to posting twice a week on LinkedIn. I don't care if you do 2 times a week, 3, 5, whatever, just be consistent about it, figure out what it is, put it on your calendar, make a plan. This is how I recommend you spend that time in the beginning. So first I would post, and that's not going to take you long to write because you are copying and pasting because you already wrote it in your content ideas list. And then from there, you are going to comment on your prospects' posts. So people who you think are in your audience or people who have a big audience, you will find that if you connect with marketers, we're very good commenters. So I recommend connecting with us, other entrepreneurs, people in your space. It doesn't have to be that you're only connecting with your audience. And so do that for, like 5 minutes or whatever it is, and then spend another 5 minutes or so researching new prospects and then direct messaging them, adding that little note, or direct messaging other contacts who you've already been in touch with. Now, just a word about engagement. When you are a therapist, a physician, a healthcare provider, you will likely find that the people who are likely to work with you are not going to be the people who engage with your content. Now, you've got privacy issues depending on what you do, or even if someone's like, let's say I need a PT for plantar fasciitis. If you're a runner, you know what I'm talking about. So let's say that you need one. I hope that I don't anytime soon, but I have had that issue in the past and I need a PT. So I will see the physical therapist in my feed. I will start to like know that person who does it. I'm not going to necessarily comment when I need it, or that, I should come to you or whatever. But other PTs who comment and other OTs and SLPs and physicians and people in your area and people in your industry who comment on your content, that's who's more likely to comment, but they're helping those people who actually need you to see your content. So I don't expect like huge engagement from your prospects when you are a private practice provider. I tend to not see a lot for my clients, and that is totally normal. All right. And finally, I want to share some great advice from my LinkedIn friends. Okay. So I like this one from Megan. She said that she's new to LinkedIn, but it's going really well. She said, just start and see how she used the lightning and her shirt is yellow. Like she's all branded. You don't have to be that branded, but that's what she's doing there. But I do like that she used the emojis for bullet points. Just start. Don't worry about finding the perfect thing to say. So true. Engage before you post and write meaningful comments and try to start continuing conversations and have fun. So you'll see a lot of stuff like GIFs and you'll see some fun things on there, the kinds of things you might see on like Facebook or something. You'll see that on LinkedIn. The important thing is to just always tie it back to your work. So if I were to share something about my dogs on LinkedIn, which I don't often, let's say I just did that like once or something. We have 2 dogs and one was like a COVID puppy. We got her during COVID. So when I got her, I shared her and I said, meet my newest coworker. And I put her up on the table next to, she's like this big, so stinking cute. I put her next to my computer. I took a photo. And I shared it in that way so that you can share things about your life and about fun. And you could share things about work using a GIF in the way you can really show your personality on LinkedIn. but you do tie it back to work. Just keep in mind, it's like this cocktail party for business networking. So everything is always tied back to work. So on Instagram, for example, I might talk like a little more about running and how it gives me space for for thinking and for having ideas. It's like my meeting with myself, and so maybe I have like a whole series of reels about running. I don't, but I've thought of it. So that would be something I could like do consistently on Instagram. On LinkedIn, it would be something that I would like maybe post once and not use a reel. Obviously, it would just be like some bullet points, tips, and then I'd ask people like, what do you do? What's your biggest idea generation, or what do you do on your work breaks? So it's always tied back to the work. All right. John here, he's the expert that I recommend you guys connect with. You connect with all these people. And I'm happy to share this if you have questions about like people I mentioned in this in here. So he says that if you have a small following, the best strategy is to comment with depth on popular posts from people in relevant industries. So I love that. He's recommending you borrow other people's audiences. You don't have to build your own from scratch. If you comment on people who have a big audience, who you would like those people to be your audience, and you comment in depth with some insight, people will connect with you. They'll see the kinds of things that you say and your authority and expertise. Okay. Nick is in branding, so he's also a marketer. And he says, I'm not sure what he means by work in public, but I like that he says post 2 to 3 times per week. So he's in marketing and he's doing 2 to 3. He's not doing it every day. Your post will be terrible initially, but it'll get better. Like I said, people are not watching you as closely as you think they are. So just go ahead. And I like that he said comment 5 times the amount that you post. I think that's great. And Ruben says, don't be afraid to be funny sometimes. People think of LinkedIn as this like stuffy resume place. It's not. You can be fun. You can be funny. You can show your personality. I certainly do. Not everyone has to like you. This is true on all social media. So if you show your personality, what it's really like, what you're like, and what it's like to work with you, and they like what they see, they will come to work with you. And if they don't like your sunshiny personality, your sarcastic, your snarky personality, and that's what you're really like with your clients or your audience or your patients, it's okay. Not everyone has to be for you. You just need enough people who are for you, and you will find your people by showing your personality. That's true on all social media. So next steps is connect with me on LinkedIn. Yay, I'm Wendy Margolin. I put the link in the chat. Definitely connect with me. Update your headline, photo, and about section. I recommend doing that even if I haven't convinced you to test the waters of posting and commenting on LinkedIn. And if you are bold and brave enough to test the waters, I recommend doing that. First post the hello, say I'm new here. Post it, tag me. I would love to say hello. If you feel super advanced, you could even like give over some things you learned and ask other people what they recommend because you're new on LinkedIn. That would be a great second post. So try that out for size, see how you do. And that is it. I hope to see you guys next week. I'm doing a free workshop on Canva training. I did this about a month ago. It was super popular. We had about 1,000 people on there, which is crazy. So if you missed that, you can join it. It's happening again next week. And oh, there we go. That went out. It's happening next week, April 15th at 1 p.m. And I have the link there in the comments. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining, for watching. Definitely reach out if you have questions. And you can join my Facebook group and ask the questions there. And that's it. Have a great week. And I hope to see you guys next week. And I am 5 minutes early. So go put into practice a couple of things that I mentioned here. Have a great week. Bye.